So I'm Ar Rasheed. I'm honored to be here. Before I get into really the meat of what I want to say, I just want to offer a couple of thoughts. Okay, sharing one similarity can set the stage for us to understand, appreciate, and give value to our differences, whatever they may be. Secondly, one of my favorite quotes when thinking about what's going on in the world is that war is mass cannibalism of human and natural resources. It's not my quote. It's attributed to the author of The Art of War. Stays on my mind a lot because I see the role of the military-industrial complex as being part of one of sort of the unspoken legacies of the current global system, the alleged global economy. What I want to focus on, rather than models, which I will speak to a few models, but what I really want to speak to is what each one of us can do. If we want a different world, then the first step is that we as individuals and collective groupings of individuals have to live a different life. I'm advocating that that new life be built on shared values and principles. One of the things that I've seen in the last 40 years, I'm 57 years old, is that progressive forces in this country have not traditionally aligned themselves based on commonly shared values and principles. We have allowed the boxes of ideology and isms to divide us, and if the present order is very adept at nothing else, they are extremely skilled at dividing and conquering progressive forces. I say that not lightly. I've went to far too many funerals for comrades and fellow activists who gave everything they could give plus. And I think that those of us gathered here today need to really seriously look in the mirror. I'm not undermining what anyone is doing individually or collectively, but I'm saying that based on my experience, if I was asked what we can do today, now, is start with self. Start with aligning your values and principles that you profess to hold with every single action, every single day of your life. So if we say that we value humanity, if we say that we value all forms of life on the planet, then live that. And that is something I think is a good basic step. Regardless of what your particular ideals are, that can be a rallying cry. Secondly, I think that we need to build from the individual level to families, communities, networks, global alliances. When I say family, whatever definition of the people around you that you give, that support you and love you and care about you, and that you return that love and care and support, that's your family. Your community, you may belong to several, many or smaller versions of community. But I think this gathering, which I would like to suggest be held quarterly, if we can make this real, this can be a local model that we can develop for us here where we live, work, play, and struggle. At the community level, I think that one of the examples that I would like to mention is Mandela Foods Cooperative, as not shorting the value of the already other long-term worker-owned cooperatives in the Bay Area. But I was part of that operation, trained the worker owners, and I really believe that the answers to the big questions in the world reside in the minds and spirits of those that have been traditionally the most excluded. The worker owners of Mandela Foods Cooperative are not moneyed or middle-class folks, not knocking having resources, but they made an extraordinary commitment. The training that I did was two years or longer, just that. Some people have been involved 3, 4 years. You know, Dana, she spoke earlier. She's been involved at least 6 or 7 years or more. But we need to look at the needs of our community locally. We need to devise, create ways and groupings of people that will commit to building businesses and networks that will fill those needs. Over a lifetime of trying to contribute to change in this country, both locally and nationally, I have realized that if we, progressive forces in this country, cannot sustain the alliances that we try to build, the businesses and networks to make sure that we can spend the maximum amount of time doing what we call a job or work focused on actually meeting the needs of our families, our communities, our networks, and ultimately the planet. So what I would suggest and what I would offer in terms of what we can do, how do we do it, is to start with self. Within each of us is the seeds for change that can, when connected to other people in family and community ways, is to build new values and to build new institutions. We need institutions that reflect the values of the people gathered here. We need businesses that reflect those values. And there's no one ism, there's no book on the shelf. We have to actually, as Miles Horton and Paulo Freire would say, make the road by walking it. We have to literally build the future day by day. And the way we build it means that we don't have the answers yet, but we should start out with the fervent belief that the answers reside in us, individually and collectively. The empire is not omnipotent. The folks that think they run the planet are going to cease to run the planet. It's up to us to make that a reality locally and to link up with networks and alliances around the planet that are focused on the same work. So what can we do? Build self, build family, build community, build networks and alliances, build them on a basis of shared values and principles. And if people are aware of the Earth Charter, that has a set of global principles and values that I think most people of a progressive nature can ascribe to. We really have to overcome these divisions that have been created by the powers that be. We need to stop rejecting people based on color, a professed ideology, their physical appearance. All of those boxes are illusions. I'm sure some of you have already probably learned that. But I'll close with just one example. During the Obama campaign, and I'm a motorcycle rider, as you can probably tell, been riding 38 years, but there was a sincere interest among the black biker and other biker communities across the country to be significantly involved in the Obama campaign. And what we did was create an organization which ended up being about a little under 5,000 bikers across the country called Bikers for Obama. We did local get out the vote stuff the entire campaign, from DC, Atlanta, Chicago, Texas, California, probably in about 35 states. But most importantly, we told people that, you know, you look at us because of a sport or a hobby, and you decide for us that we're not concerned or involved. And I think there are other communities and other segments of our country that need to be organized and involved like that. It doesn't really matter what your particular worldview is. If you have shared values and principles, then you need to get busy. And the work starts with self. And then within your family, spread those values. Don't divide yourself from your family. Don't divide yourself from your community. Do not assume that people don't share certain concerns. Whether or not they have the ability to clearly communicate those concerns should not be the determining factor. Sometimes I think us as progressives unconsciously judge people based upon the values of the empire, not the real values that we claim to want to have be the values of the future. That's it. Thank you.
World of soul.